Hey, it's the Empire. Don't forget to hit the like button, the subscribe button, and the bell icon for more videos. Be taking over. Let's go, champ. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button right now. Let's go. Hey, it's the Empire. Geoboxing Empire. Back to boxing. Now, 154 is getting stacked, man. It's always been stacked in my opinion. But a lot of people are saying that 160 is beginning to be a stacked division. It's really because all these 154 pounders are moving up to 160. You got Jermall Charlo, you got Demetrius Andre, he recently moved up to 160, and you got Canelo Alvarez. They're all going up to 160. And, it's a threat to Triple G and the powers that be, all the champions at 160. Um, these when people talk about fights at 160, people want to see like Jermall versus a 154 former 154 champion fight like a Daniel Jacobs. You know what I mean? They want to mix and match these guys to fight each other because they know they're that talented, right? So it's crazy because I remember when Canelo fought Floyd Mayweather, he was a top pound for pound fighter at the time, and he got the title in 2011, man, and he was only the light middleweight title holder for like 2 years until he fought Floyd Mayweather and he lost the titles. And after that Floyd fight, Canelo made himself. Canelo basically, made his own division, Canelo weight, 155 division, and basically fought like some big names at his own weight class. So Canelo only had the title for like 2 years, the light middleweight title for 2 years before he lost it all, and by Floyd Mayweather. Now, Jermall Charlo, he won the belt in 2013, and he's held the belt for like 4 years now, right? He's defended it like 11 or 12 times, a lot of times, man. And he's fought people like Gabriel Rosado before Triple G got to him. He fought John Jackson, Charles Hatley, and if he gets past Erskine Lubin, man, I think he should be considered a top pound for pound fighter, man. He's been fighting elite level opponents, He beat Vanis Menorosian too. And John Jackson, his father's John the Hawk Jackson, legendary middleweight fighter, one of the hardest punchers of all time. Charles Hatley, an incredible fighter. He's one of the hardest hitters at 154 too. He actually beat this Australian fighter, but he destroyed him. And the guy fights at cruiserweight. Can't think of his name right now. Can't come in my head. But yeah, man. So it's crazy that this guy hasn't been considered a top pound for pound fighter right now, because the only reason why Jermall Charlo hasn't fought more fighters is just because most of his camp and people he trains with were champions. His brother was a champion 154, and there's Landy Laros on 154. And the only other guy who got the belt at the time, at least most of the time, was Canelo Alvarez. Or and then Canelo, whoever didn't have the title, Canelo would come out of nowhere and take the title, and then fight in between weight classes, fighting his weight or 160 or above, So I think it's time for these 154 pounders to start being recognized as a top pound for pound type fighters. They're beating top fighters. If they're not fighting top fighters, they're fighting fighters in their prime that have really, really good records that are underrated. Before Jermell will fight them, they'll have like a UD loss, and it'd be like a controversial loss. So I think it's time for one of these 154 fighters, man. If they continue to win, they could be considered a top pound for pound fighter, man. It's just ridiculous that people don't want to give them the credit until they start threatening their fighter. If all these 154 fighters move up to 160, everyone would be saying that's the most stacked division in boxing. Actually, it's 154, man. 154 is really the most stacked division in boxing, and people need to give credit to these fighters because 154 is stacked, right? I mean, like Erskine Lubin, man. He's a new and up and coming fighter, man. He doesn't even have too many fights yet, but he's fighting a lot of elite fighters, man. He's fighting a lot of guys. People say it's too young. This guy's only this guy's young. He's only 22 years old, but he's getting through opponents really quick. He's been knocking everyone out. I mean, his last two opponents, he stopped George Cota in round 4, and then he stopped Juan Cabrera in round 2. His last 2 fights. This guy is young and he's running through his competition. Some people even call him the Errol Spence of the 154 division. So I mean, if I'm not counting the eggs too early, but if Jermell gets past him, easily, like Charles Hatley, everyone was hyping Hatley up, and the way Jermell took care of him was it was scary actually. It was a shock. Like it was crazy because when he was boxing him, he was hitting him and he was doing really good. And when he turned it up, and he didn't lose any of his technique. Some people when they want to knock you out, they get wild. Think of like Wilder, even like a Chrissy Blake Jr. He gets really wild when he wants to finish you. But Jermall Charlo, man, he's perfect with his technique. I think he needs to be considered for a top pound-for-pound fighter. Let's be honest, Arizona Laura, he's really an underachiever. I don't think he's ever gonna go past 154. I think he's comfortable getting checks and just staying there. He doesn't really care about legacy anymore. He's just gonna stay there and keep beating bums. But he may not have long left. I'm pretty sure if Arizona Laura wasn't there, who else would beat Jermall Charlo? Really nobody. Demetrius Andre left that division. I mean, there's no one really there to challenge Jermall Charlo. His level is too high. He's keep proving it. He's proving it time and time again. So let me know how you guys feel, man. You guys think Jermell should be a top pound for pound fighter or not? Because I do think so. Him and his brother. His brother. If I talk about his brother, this would be like a fucking 20-minute video. If I talk about both of them, but Jermell definitely for sure. It's crazy because people keep on arguing about who's actually better, Jermell and Jermall. Jamal's the harder puncher, but Jermell, he hits just as hard. He's been knocking out his last. He knocked out his last 3 opponents. He knocked out John Jackson, Charles Hatley, and John Chim Alkine. And all 2 of them were in the 6th round, one's in the 8th. So I mean, incredible, man. You need to start considering this guy as a pound-for-pound fighter. Most people came back off wins. Charles Hatley hasn't came back yet, but that's what happens when you get stopped. You gotta take a break a little bit. Plus, take like a year off after you get knocked out, so you can recover. Because when you get knocked out, you have some kind of concussion, and the doctors won't let you fight unless you wait a year. But anyway, let me know how you feel about it. Like, comment, subscribe. This is the Empire. Geoboss Empire. Peace.